Hello, True Crime Curiosities, back with another episode about Turtleboy, who's also known as Aiden Carney. He's a journalist who reports on local news. That's been his forte since he started. And he has a style that some people may not appreciate. He uses curse words and is somewhat, I wouldn't call it aggressive, but very assertive when questioning people. It's one of the reasons why he was arrested for intimidating witnesses, which is a whole other deal that we all should be following. I think this case will likely end up in the Supreme Court, honestly, because of this First Amendment issue and the law that they have used against Turtleboy in this case to charge him twice and now be in jail. So hopefully it would get settled in the Massachusetts Supreme Court, but if not, I definitely think this is an issue that needs to be discussed. This affects everyone's First Amendment rights, and particularly journalists and people who report on news and potential corruption. So I'm just going to start off here with a recording. Turtleboy is speaking with a special guest. His name is Kevin. Kevin is no longer a supporter of Karen Reed or Turtleboy, and he has his own reporting on this subject. So if you want a different perspective, if you feel that I'm too biased, he gives the other side. And so I'm just going to play a little clip here of Turtleboy with Kevin, and when they were discussing some of the things wrong with this case. Oops, sorry, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. All right, here we go. Let's bring him up here. He's basically just talking about how he's gone to their town, approached them, asked them questions. There are videos that you can find on his channel that show him questioning people. And, oh, here it is. And he approaches people like the McCabe's and the Alberts. He goes to their place of business. Well, it's not their workplace. It's really one of them owns a pizzeria, and he goes in and orders a sub. He does a lot of things like this. And so, he's controversial. But is he doing anything other than exercising First Amendment? That's what the debate is. That's what people are talking about. So the more you look into this case, the more you'll see evidence for what he's been talking about the past 9 months. And the United States District Attorney is, in fact, investigating the investigation of this case. So there is an investigation going as to how this case was investigated. And it's Michael Morrissey, by the way, who I mentioned in the last episode and didn't know what his title was, which is kind of embarrassing because I've been following this case for a while, but it's a lot. It's a lot. The thing that's more maybe exciting about this case right now than frustrating is that there is a lot of information out here. Unlike the Idaho 4, it's not under a million gag orders. And so you can get things that support, you can find many pieces of evidence that support Turtleboy's claims that Karen Reed is innocent. And now Turtleboy himself, like I said, has turned into a big part of this story. In fact, I don't think this story can be told without Aiden Carney, known as Turtleboy. So Michael Morrissey, he's actually the Norfolk District Attorney. That's who Michael Morrissey is, and that's the town that this case is being tried. And so I believe it's Adam Lally is the prosecuting attorney for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts against Karen Reed. So sorry that I got that mixed up. I am going to do an episode on Michael Morrissey and the letters back and forth between he and the United States District Attorney that's investigating the investigation of this case. Okay, so let's get to this.
Joining us, Kyle. Appreciate that.
No, I'm glad to be here, man. I would have been here anyways. Just I would have been watching from the other side. So I always watch the show.
So I have watched your show a number of times. I do like it. I think you have an interesting way of talking to people. It's soothing, and I think it's fair and straightforward. I enjoyed your first video that I saw about the is Turtleboy a hero or whatever, fraud, the villain, whatever it was. And I thought it was really fair the way you did it.
So this is, clearly two people who agree. This is Kevin, and his channel is Yellow Cottage Tales. And actually, it's a comment that he made on Twitter that prompted me to even want to start talking about the Turtleboy case on here. He was not happy. He is not happy about what has come out recently, which is, yes, Turtleboy has been speaking with Karen Reed indirectly since May through a friend of hers from college, and then I think directly maybe after the friend of hers and she had some sort of a falling out. And Turtleboy has that whole saga as well. He tells you everything. He's not sharing what's happening. The only thing that it turns out he kept from people he was reporting to us was the fact that he, in fact, was in contact with Karen Reed. He revealed he had a source. He just wouldn't tell us who that source was. And journalists in the United States of America are allowed to have sources that they do not reveal. This is a protected right. And, it's one of the reasons why people are able to whistleblow. If journalists were forced to tell who their sources are, whistleblowers would have a lot harder of a time getting any information out. And so the source in this case that Turtleboy's been reporting on is the actual defendant, Karen Reed. And that's what's got this guy feeling vindicated, because he and Turtleboy had some sort of a falling out prior to this. I don't know what happened. I didn't follow that. I just noticed this guy is on Twitter a lot bashing Turtleboy, Turtle Riders, and what I don't like when people have opposing views is when they start name calling and saying like brainwashed, you're stupid, don't you know how to read? Like these kind of things are we in third grade right now? Like what's going on? Like somebody called, I believe, I didn't watch the video, but it said, no, I can't hear it, bitch, right? Do you hear what I hear? I don't know if that was referring to me or not. I'll be that bitch if that's what I'm supposed to be. I don't care. That's neither here nor there. But I don't like when we start calling people names. Like what, again, like, are we in third grade? Do you, is there another way you can phrase that maybe isn't so nasty? I personally don't think it's not what I would do. It's not how I operate. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that because it's really not that important. But so this guy, this is what he texted the other day after Aiden admitted what I just told you. And I can read a little bit about that from his blog, but he admitted that, yes, he had been in contact indirectly and indirectly with Karen Reed since May. So here's the Yellow Cottage Tales. The Karen Reed case has really exposed the inherent dishonesty of many people. I'm not talking about mistakes. I'm talking about lies. It should have been obvious to anyone who has ever dealt with a used car salesman that Aiden was lying about working directly with Karen and her lawyers. Is it just Aiden? Among many people that get their marching orders directly from Karen is our man from the Gulf. I don't know who that is. I don't mean he just has talked to her and her attorneys. I mean, he is one of her primary social media influencers who gets specific instructions on what information to put out where. Ask him, remind him that the truth comes out. Okay, so whoever this man in the golf is, if he, so what if he talks to Aiden, right? Like, I don't, like, who cares? And what if he talks to Karen? Like, he's a journalist. He's reporting news. I don't, do you understand that when people report things and they say, this is a source I have, that they're allowed to do that, and they're also allowed to keep that secret? There are certain things in this world I think people should keep more secret, you know? And that's another thing. Somebody tells me something, I'll never repeat it. You told me you don't want me to repeat, I'm not repeating it unless they give me permission, right? If I were given some information and I was going to report it on this channel about something within anything we're talking about here, I would say I have a source. It's up to the audience to decide if they trust me or not. And that's just based on your integrity and how you report things and that sort of thing, right? And clearly a lot of people found Turtleboy credible because he has been around for years prior to this case. Just like this person, man of the golf, whoever that is that he's alluding to, he's now saying Karen gives this person orders as well. Okay, again, so what? If people are watching it, unlike a lot of people, I don't assume people are stupid. I really don't. I'm assuming people are intelligent and they know how to use critical thinking. If they don't agree with me, I don't tell them that they're stupid. They just have a different perspective. Why am I going to get upset about that? It's insane. But this kind of stuff irritates me. So now he's claiming that Aiden is obviously just like a used car salesman. I disagree. Sorry. I've met car salesmen and used car salesmen. And number one, I don't think it's a derogatory term. I just know how to buy a car. I know what to do, so I don't have to spend 10 hours in there negotiating a price, and then they have to read the riot act about it. They talk to 5 other people. That's not how you negotiate a price, right? But I don't blame them for trying. But regardless, Aiden is not like a used car salesman to me, okay? Because I wouldn't watch that. But again, that's your opinion. That's fine. It says, he goes on to say that this guy, man in the golf, is getting information from Karen and her attorneys. Okay, so what? That's legal. As long as they're not giving protected information or information that's, I can't imagine, right? Then he says, as this case has unfolded, I've been fed a lot of information. When that information turns out to be correct, my job is not only to correct the record publicly, but to get to the bottom of how that false information was fed to me. That sounds like a personal problem. I'm sorry. I just don't see how that's everybody else's problem, that you believe something and someone was withholding information from you, but okay. If the false info seems to have been intentionally injected into the discussion, I owe it to the public to learn what happened. I agree with that. Banned from the golf owes it to everyone to tell us how extensive his communications are with Karen Reed and her legal team. I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, the news is constantly reporting on their sources behind the scenes about, what's happening. And their sources could be defense attorneys. They could be prosecuting attorneys. They could actually be going out against the gag orders of cases and doing that. And the news has every right, and they do, to report what their source told them. Unfortunately, in today's day and age, most of it is crap. But in my opinion, when you watch, the mainstream channels that are all owned by like one company. So again, that's then up to me, the viewer, to use my ability to discern what is true and what is false. Well, I don't understand this. This is like so insane to me that this guy is like so pressed about the fact that Turtleboy was talking to Karen Reed. You even admit that anybody could tell that was obvious. And now you somehow claim that that's illegal. I don't get it, man. I grew up here. I never heard it. I can't even, this makes no sense to me. Moving on. So he talks to Kevin and I would talk to Kevin. I think he's challenged people to discuss this case with him. I'll discuss it with you. I have no problem. I'm a nice person. If you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it with you. So, and I have an open mind. So anyway, let's go here to, what are they talking about here?
You are from my neck of the woods, correct? You're a Worcester guy?
I actually grew up in Lawrence, Mass, but I went to Clark University.
Rubbing each other off here. Sorry. I don't really want to get into that crap.
I follow the truth. What I think the truth is, if I have questions, I ask them. I mean, and this is
sounds good.
An expert.
All right.
Not a lawyer, so I don't know, but
none of us are lawyers. I'm not a lawyer either. We can still talk about this stuff.
Which is if you had to push me into a corner and say what my basic belief was, my belief is that he did go into the house. He got into a fight. He got smashed on the back of the head, and maybe somewhere. At 12.
I think his belief has changed though, and I don't know why.
Fits Adam Lalley's
but I
theory
don't
anyway.
Want to say for sure. I just know that he had a falling out with Turtleboy, and he's constantly, and I believe now he's just like anti-turtle rider, I guess, the best way to put it.
Like Brian Albert Jr. is going to be my father-in-law someday. He's basically family. Like they've been dating a long time. He's basically family. So she does have reason to lie and cover for the Alberts because that's her boo. Now, I just think Sarah Levinson. I think
they're talking about a lot
I disagree
of
with
people involved in this case, potential witnesses, etc. And you can watch this video. It's a great video. So I just want to go to this next one here. All right. This is where Karen Reed's attorneys bring up something that I think we should all be thinking about in terms of the Idaho 4 case or any case that you're looking at. And it has to do with Google geofence data and cell phone tower data. Google, there's a video out there. I should try to link it if I can, but you may have seen it, where this guy is a news reporter, has his 2 phones, and he puts one on airplane mode and another one he turns off. And they take those phones back and they put it through this extraction process or something. I don't know. It's something I'm sure forensic people have availability to when investigating. And even though he was on airplane mode and one of the phones was turned off, geofencing from Google logged every single thing he did. It even knew, like, when he was going into a church, which is really should be protected information, like going into your doctor's office, right? It knew everything this guy did, step by step. He was walking down the street here, he got into a car there, he drove over there. That's how accurate it was. And this was like 10 years ago. And I think Google might have been sued for this. All that being said, that data is there. It can be subpoenaed, right? So it's the same thing in this case with John O'Keefe. It should show him walking into the house if he was present in the house, right? It should show if Karen Reed, what exactly she did. And it relates to Idaho 4 because if you believe that the defendant, Brian Koberger, is guilty, then they should be able to get that geofence data from his phone. It doesn't matter if it was in airplane mode. They can still get all of that. That's Google. That's just Google. I'm not even talking about iPhone and Apple and what they collect. So that he's talking about Karen Reed's attorneys and what they've been saying in court. And the same thing that Turtleboy, by the way, is discussing. He's discussing on his channel is the same thing the attorneys are saying in court. So it's not like hard to figure out, right? Like it's not hard to figure out. The difference is that Turtleboy is reporting this. And what had happened, from what I can gather, what I read on his blog, is that Turtleboy, I'll just keep calling him Turtleboy. I don't want to get people confused. But what I read on Turtleboy's blog is that when the defense filed all these motions and made these claims about the investigation and Proctor and the people that were in the house that night, no news agency reported on it. There was no headline in the Boston News. There was no, nightly news from Fox or ABC saying, guess what? This is insane. Look at what these attorneys just filed, right? That, because it is insane. Their claims on their, like, if you didn't know anything about the case and didn't understand that these are like high powered attorneys, one from California that flew here, on her behalf and is, working on her case. These are people that they don't want to get disbarred. Okay. They don't want to make up lies. They're not just like, if you want to give them some credit and say, like, these are not people that want to destroy their careers, right? He was hired by Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. Not the greatest people when you think about it. However, most criminal defense attorneys, they defend people, all types of people. And so, whatever you think of those people, they're clearly people who they value their reputation, is my point. And so Turtleboy is reporting what they're saying in court, and no other news agency will pick up. And it's incredibly newsworthy and interesting to the public. I think the public just doesn't, the public hasn't been informed. The only person out here talking about it was Aidan Carney, Turtleboy, for months. And before him, those filings were in there and no other news agencies picked it up. So you can see his sort of approach. I just wanted to see where, here we got this. Right. This is what I was talking about. And what he's referencing here is that Karen Reed's defense has been asking the prosecution, who has access to phones, who apparently Jen McCabe had given voluntarily in the beginning. That's how they got the Cellbrite data that says at 2:07 a.m. she Googled how long to die in cold. How long is it? So, they have this, but the defense is asking for this because clearly it's exculpatory, right? And but they're denying it. Like, the prosecution won't turn it over. Why wouldn't you turn it over? Again, it's like those things in Idaho 4. It's like, why would you not turn over this information? If it's true that Karen Reed, had this murderous outrage and backed up and killed her boyfriend, then the cell phone data is not going to show anything to be concerned about, correct? So also, if I was accused, if someone was telling me I was in a house at nighttime and they're accusing me of murder, like, I would just give them my phone, like, here, like, take it. I say that, but you know what? You got to be careful. You got to be careful. I'm not going to go there on the witnesses. I'm not picking on these other people. Okay. I'm just saying that if the prosecution, why are they withholding it? And if they don't want the public to see it, that's fine. No, the public doesn't have to see it, put it under seal, but they should be giving that over, right? If there's nothing here if their case is strong. It's exculpatory. Right, right. So it's just another kind of thing where you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense. And that's true. It's true. That's not a debatable thing. So the next thing I wanted to sort of show you here. So this is kind of Turtleboy style. He visits Canton. He goes to a lacrosse game where Jen and Matt McCabe are watching their daughter. And this is the kind of stuff that people think is too aggressive, or he's over the top, or it's apparently illegal because it's intimidation of a witness. But You decide. You take a look and see what you think. So he's talking with somebody, verifying if she's there, where is she, etc. Probably his cameraman is my guess. Oh, sorry, no, it's this guy. Okay, so sorry, I probably didn't give a good recap there, but essentially, this guy he's texting with is filming these people at this lacrosse game, letting Turtleboy know that they're at this lacrosse game if he wanted to go and talk to them. Because I think he had tried calling them. I'm not sure at this point. I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't like he was like at their house every day, parked in front of their house with a bunch of people asking them to answer his questions, which is what the news does, by the way, when someone is being accused of murder. That's what like generally the news does, right? When they find out like someone's been accused of murder, they're like outside, they're parked outside the house with their vans and a bunch of people, and then the person walks out and a microphone gets shoved in their mouth. The news does that, and you can't get all the news arrested for that because it's a First Amendment right. The public have a right to know, and they have a right to report it. Turtle Boy happens to just be the only person that's reporting on this big drop that defense team filed, accusing people in that house of conspiracy to commit murder and maybe conspiracy to murder and the cover up thereof. Right? It's a very interesting story. Turtle Boy is the only one reporting on it. Okay, so he's going to go and find these people. All right, so I want to see if we get up to where this. Okay, here we go. This might be where he actually talks to the McCabe's. All right, so this is him just talking on his channel, which he talking about questions he has. Okay, here we go. This is where he talks to them. Here we go. That's her husband, Matt McCabe. YouTube channel. He does look pretty angry, like he's ready to wring his neck. He's got balls, I'll give you that much, Turtle Boy. Yeah, all right, so let me just all right, let's see. So she doesn't want to talk clearly, and he's being persistent, just like PS. If you think that this is bad, the news does the same thing when they try to get information from people. They one person asks persistently, they're all around the person. Okay. So just saying this is nothing that news doesn't already do. Now, I don't know a lot of news that does this type of investigative journalism in the mainstream anymore, but that's what he's doing. Okay. It's no different. So, he gets real personal. That's part of his style. It's not my style. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it, but it does give entertaining commentary. Yeah, they're trying to get him kicked out of the game now, and there's no legal reason to kick. You're allowed to film in public. That's the law. You can film in public. Oh my god. Yeah. So, yeah, so he's sitting here, he's talking to them, he's asking them questions that he has a right to ask. So you can go to his channel and kind of see like what that interview was about, and I highly recommend that you do, because you know it's it's really interesting how he interviews these people. But again, you can say it's obnoxious or aggressive, but which some people find him to be, and they even find this illegal. And I would just ask you, what did the news do to OJ Simpson after he got arrested? Right? What did they do to the people that were arrested recently for murdering a pregnant woman and her boyfriend? I mean, this is what the news does, and depending on the interest in the story, that attention on that person can stay for months, right? To the point where people have to move or hide out or leave their house. He's not doing anything different than the news has done. Not in this case, though. That's the issue. Okay, that's where the real heart of the matter comes in. Okay, and then this is the last thing I just wanted to show here. This is Lucky Loughran, and I mentioned him in the last video. Lucky Loughran is a plow driver, and he was plowing on Fairview Road the night of John O'Keefe's death. And he has some really important information because of that. And the police knew, or should have known if they're investigating a case, who the potential witnesses are. And the fact that there's a plowman on that road during that night, whatever time it was, I would think a good investigation would include interviewing the plowman, asking him if he saw anything when he drove by. Was there a body? Did he hit the body? What cars were there? Did he see anything suspicious? Right? This is a potential witness. Well, Michael Proctor failed to interview this witness. Turtleboy called him on his own. Why? Because he has a right to. He's a journalist. Could Lucky Loughran just say F you and hang up and block his number, which is what you do when you don't want to talk to someone? It's really simple. Yeah, he could have done that, but he didn't. And Turtleboy spoke with Lucky Loughran and asked him what he saw that night. And what he said is exculpatory evidence for Karen Read. You can't take it any other way. There's no other way. And this man has nothing. This man, Lucky, has no reason to lie. The only reason he would lie is if someone was pressuring him. And the only people that would pressure him would be the people that live in that town that he knows, that he's worked in, that he's a public employee for, apparently. So you think if he's going to lie, he's going to say, yeah, there, you know, there was a body, there was whatever it is, right? It's going to be for the prosecution and the benefit of the families that are now in the crosshairs of this investigation, the people that are allegedly in that house. He didn't do that, though. He said what he saw, and it exculpates Karen Reed. And that's a big problem for anybody who thinks that she's guilty. I don't even know how, with his testimony, that you could continue to keep her in prison, right? And so, or not in prison, but arrested. I don't understand how the case I do know why the case hasn't been dismissed. It's because once you start lying, you just got to keep going. And the lengths that this has gone to is insane. And I'll talk about the Michael Morrissey letters in the next episode and show you where this has gone. And the fact that Aiden is now in jail, Turtleboy is now in jail with a charge that I believe is also fraudulent. Anyway, so let's just get to it. Lucky Loughran, what does he say? Oh, so after Turtleboy interviewed Lucky, then the Michael Proctor, the lead detective in this homicide, interviewed Lucky. He hadn't done it before. Only after Turtleboy interviewed him live on air. Okay. Now the guy decides, this investigator decides he's going to interview this man. Absolutely insane. And that's what this is.
And then we met at JFK parking lot. So you met with the FBI twice? Do you remember what those dates were? I don't, honestly. On a Sunday, did they identify themselves with credentials? They introduced themselves as PIs working on behalf of Karen Reed. What about the FBI? He's so concerned about the FBI. They are fucking shitting their pants about. Tell me about the FBI. He wants to know, like, who are the agents? I know who the agents are. LF. There's a. We know who that agent is. Anyway, what about the FBI agents? The FBI agents did leave me there cards. They left me with a subpoena for the grand jury, but I was instructed not to appear on the date of the subpoena. A lot of people have asked about this. Lucky getting a subpoena. So the subpoena was in case he didn't want to play ball. He gave him everything they needed. And now that FBI agent can just write their own affidavit and said, and present that to the grand jury and said, this is what Lucky Loughran said. So he doesn't have to be subpoenaed. He doesn't have to get dragged down. He is not the target of their investigation. But the private investigators met with you 2 times. Correct. Okay. 1 time? 1. Yeah, they met with me twice. Second time to do the route. Okay. And they talk about where the meeting was. Okay. And blah, blah, blah. Okay. And back to Aiden, because this is the important shit. After Aiden called you, did you call, text, or communicate with anyone about the conversation? He called me. He says, no. Have you heard from Turtleboy since? You called me the next day, Lucky. Okay. Either Facebook Messenger or text or phone call since Monday? No. And just to confirm, when he called you, he didn't advise you that you could potentially be, that he's recording that conversation? Did he tell you, hey, this is being recorded? This motherfucker Proctor asked him that. Like, he's back to this. He's back to this. He's trying to charge me up. Again, Proctor, come at me, bitch. Come at me, son. Bear. First of all, Proctor, why don't we just fucking fight? Like me and you. You're a big, tough guy.
So, well, I think Proctor, unfortunately, somebody came after him because he's in jail now. You know, his taunts got him, I'm sure, got the other people. Listen, I think he would have ended up in jail regardless without this kind of behavior. I think that, and he probably knew that, is my guess, because they were out to shut him up. They do not want him talking to anybody. He's got 50,000 followers. Okay. He's been on, I think it was News Nation, interviewed by Vinny Politan. So he's been interviewed by him. And I think on the DL, Vinny Polytem might be a turtle rider right now, honestly. But he's got to be careful because of, I don't want to speak for him. I just have the sense he might be. Regardless, he hasn't gotten much press on this. Nobody's really talking about it. And anyway, so here.
Right? Let's just duke it out. If you fight me, Proctor, 1-on-1, I want to fight you. Because
all right, let's get past the dick swing.
Down hard. Okay. Anybody bringing a body out there, placing it on top of the snow, or digging up the snow and covering the body in snow. Like, what did they think the answer? What do you think he was going to say? Yes. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys about that. I saw somebody pulling the fucking body out. Who's Karen Reed? I saw him pulling the car out. It was crazy. He's just placing the body there.
The defense
I totally forgot to mention that earlier. Like, what? What a stupid question. And the reason he's asking this is because he's going to say later on in their big report, we questioned the subject about whether or not he saw a body, whether or not he.
Yeah. Okay. So,
right.
All right. Here we go.
If you hit the button, yeah, because there was no body, you honestly. Dumb shit. They're trying to.
This is the most important part of the interview. He says, you didn't hit the body, right? If you hit the body, you would. And then Lucky says, correct. Brian is his first name, apparently. Lucky. The sergeant, I would have known, Lucky says. You would have notified? I would have. Known about it, and B, I would have known. I would have been required to stop and make a phone call to the supervisor and then the necessary phone calls to police and fire. That's protocol for the town. This guy's no bullshit. He's like, no, I didn't hit the body because this is what I would have done had I hit it. That's really straightforward. At any point during the night, did you hit anything at all? Mailbox, car. Okay. This is what Proctor says. And let's see what else. He says, the net actually clips. I don't know, hold on. All right, I'm just going to jump down a little further. He says, your plow didn't hit it. Correct. And did you notice anybody injured out there that night due to the dipping? No. Did you notify anybody? Yes. Okay, you did. I notified my employer. And what was the result of that incident? All right, wait a second. I think he must have hit something else, maybe. I hit a basketball net. That was a portable on the side of the road. It hit the arm to my tarp that is on top of my truck. So not the plow. No, not the plow. Okay, so you clipped something up above. Correct. The net actually clips like above your truck. Correct. And it was protruding onto the roadway as you were plowing. Correct. Your plow didn't hit it. No. And so he's asking, basically, I guess he clipped a basketball net, but without the plow because it's pretty high. The plow's on the ground. So then he says, did you notify anybody about that? And he says, yes, he notified his supervisor. What was the result of that? What's it say? The result of that was, I don't know if I'll be able to follow it here. Okay, here we go. That the net was turned from facing the street to facing the yard. So I turned it 90 degrees. Do you recall what street that was on? That was on Tippy Cart Road. Okay.
That night. Due to that. Yeah, motherfucker. I hit 4 children while I accidentally clipped.
All right. He's got a lot of hyperbole here.
Stop and make a phone call if I hit a. Stop and make a phone call if I hit a fucking body.
So all right, let's see here.
The road, other than the Ford Edge.
All right, this is where he talks about
facing the street to facing the front yard.
Right,
so
this is the most important part.
Guys, like this is serious shit. He clips the net of a basketball hoop, and so then he just gets out of the car, tells his supervisor, and turns the net. Oh God, what? I can't believe this is happening right now. Police work. You wouldn't understand it. Kof and Dave would. They had to rally up. Do you recall what street it was on? Yeah. This office, who gives a fuck about the basketball hoop? And they start asking about the basketball hoop. Did you notice any other vehicles on Fairview Road parked on the side of the road other than the Ford Edge? No. What color was it? I can't tell you. I'm colorblind. Of course, Lucky's colorblind. Was it a light color or a dark color? If I was to say, I guess tan colored. tan color, but you're colorblind. Oh, gotcha. You said if I were to say, you go, I am. All right.
All right. It says, I appreciate you revealing that information with us. It's very forthcoming. Shows how honest you're being with us. Lucky says, I also shared that with the FBI. I shared the same information with the private investigator. So, okay, I'm sorry. Actually, not after Aiden interviewed Lucky, which I believe he did air. It was after the FBI interviewed Lucky that finally the lead homicide detective on this case decides maybe it's time that they interviewed him. All right, so share that information with the FBI and the private investigator. That would be Karen Reed's private investigator. Okay, thank you. Anything else that you think we're missing about the night in question? How illuminated it was, how heavy in your experience the snow is coming down, how obstructed your view was as the result of the snow. If you can maybe share your recollection. Lucky. The snow was heavy. It was not blinding. It was not a whiteout condition, but it was coming down very heavy and fast. Sergeant, okay, what about the street light illumination? Any of the neighborhood lose power? No street lights? Anything like that? Lucky, I want to say there is one that I know of, and that's at the end of the property of 34. And it's just, there seems to be like, it's hard to describe it other than it looks like a little wooded area that has a concrete pole with a light on it. Okay. And then he says, okay, all right. Do we have any further questions? Sergeant says, there's unsubstantiated rumors, but we want to get to the bottom of everything. There's unsubstantiated rumors. Okay, same thing. That's like repeated 3 times. We have learned that somebody recorded you having this conversation, or somebody prior to having Aiden call you recorded a conversation with you, asking you the same questions that Aiden asked. Do you know anything about that? Lucky, I have no idea. No idea. Okay. Had anybody else other than the FBI and the private investigators ask you the same questions or similar questions that Aiden was asking you? Lucky, no. The transcript of said you saw this transcript. The transcript which Aiden published are those questions to the best of your knowledge. Is that what he's basically, did you ask them that in chronological order? Lucky says, Sergeant says, do you want to reference it? Do you want to take a look back? So they're really concerned about what he said to other people. And yes, no, they said as long as the police have ordered the testimony. Did they say I couldn't speak to the police? No one has ever told me I couldn't speak to the police. I told him that I'm not talking to anyone unless it's attached to a badge or a subpoena. Okay, so Sergeant says you can leaf through these pages. That's part 93 of Aiden Turtleboy's blog. Oh, Lucky says, okay, well, these are the questions that he asked me, but I'm finding discrepancies already. Proctor, this Trooper Proctor, can you point out the discrepancies? And then Lucky says, yeah. He said, it says it says that I said I couldn't talk to the police, that someone told me I couldn't. And it says, no one has ever told me I couldn't speak to the police. I told him that I'm not talking to anyone unless it's attached to a badge or a subpoena. Did the private investigators present a badge or subpoena? Lucky says no. They introduced themselves as private investigators for the defense team. Okay, Lucky. To me, that was sufficient to warrant to go with them and to cooperate. He wanted to just tell them what he saw. He probably didn't even realize. I bet you he didn't even know like all that was going on here. I can imagine. Lucky. He's asking me questions regarding a memo referring to Turtleboy and questions asked, and we were instructed that we can give our name out. He's got that wrong. It's completely wrong. Sergeant, what's wrong? Lucky. We were told that we could speak. We're not to answer the question. So if he says he asked a question, our response was to be no comment. Sergeant. So there's multiple discrepancies. All right. So they go through that. So they're basically just asking them, he's asking to look over what's been reported, and he wants to know how true it is, right? They got his GPS records and everything. All right, and then let me just see. I really just wanted to see the part where he says, what he saw or didn't see on that road. Maybe it's in the very beginning.
because I don't think I can enlarge this. Or can I? Start from the top because I really want to break this thing down. Investigation in this case. So he has reviewed it now. And that, of course, is significant because they haven't recorded anything before. Now, all of a sudden, they're recording shit. And I just laugh at these motherfuckers, how seriously they take themselves. Like, I want to do a whole blog on how much just the institution of the state police is the most rotten.
Okay, so he goes on there, and I'm not going to. I just want to find where he actually says.
Man, like I looked up. I
okay.
Onto Fairview, up to Fairview, back onto
Okay,
Chapman.
here it
Like,
is.
who remembers this whole?
Yeah, so he's giving the night. So Lucky says, we were called out at 2:30 in the morning. I believe it was roughly 2:30. I arrived at the barn at 2:15. I was in my truck. I went down. All right, he's just giving what he saw. So you got there around 2:15. Do you immediately go out and did you? Okay, just reading. Let's see. Talks about the weather conditions. He's talking about his route, which leads him by the 34 Fairview Road. And then he says, was anyone with you? Subconscious were called. It depends. Let's see, sorry. All right. January parking. Oh my gosh. I just want to see the part where he goes by 34 Fairview. All right. So he talks about the Ford Edge vehicle. It was on the street. Okay. So I'm just going to stop on that.
Park that night.
He asked him what he sees, but essentially he was there after midnight. I think it's saying like around 3:30, maybe 2:30, 3:30 a.m. And they're asking him what he saw. I don't think they're specific. I don't think they specifically asked him this, but I believe Aiden highlighted in the interview with Lucky. He asked him if he saw a body, and the answer was no. So if Karen Reed had hit John O'Keefe in a murderous rage, Lucky Loughran in a plow and a well-lit area, which he says, that's why they talk about the illumination, would have seen a body on that front lawn, which is where John O'Keefe was found the next morning. And he did not see a body. And this guy's conscientious enough that he hit a basketball net with his truck, probably just like tapped it or something. And he got out of his truck and moved it and then reported that to his boss. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that if he saw a body, he would have done the exact same thing as reporting it, doing the right thing about it. He follows protocols. He mentioned several times how he does that. So there's no reason for him to hide the fact that there was a body. He's not part of the conspiracy to kill John O'Keefe, right? He's the plow driver, and he has exculpatory evidence. And so it's just insane. I mean, this is just like small little pieces of this case, but there's so many over and over again. The difference here, I think, than in Idaho 4 is that this stuff is starting to come out. It's coming out more and more. And as I followed this over 9 months, you can see it coming out that there's something not right here. And so this will continue to brew, and I'll be really interested to find out. She's supposedly going to have her trial. The Karen Reed trial is set for March. That's not that far away. And all of this stuff is going on in the background. Turtleboy is in jail, and the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe is being investigated by the United States attorney. So that's all I'm going to share for now. The next video, I'm going to talk about the letters and Michael Morrissey. And I think that's important to the case as well, because it talks about what the investigation, what little information they have, we can see, and how Michael Morrissey, the Norfolk County District Attorney, is taking that information. So, all right, guys, that's it for now, and hope you have a great night.